Level 1. Candidate. The phone rings at 0347. No caller ID. You answer because something in your gut already knows you don't have a choice. Report to Building 7. Bring nothing. You've been through SFAs. You've logged 18-hour ruck marches across the Uvari. You think you're ready. You're not. The moment you step through that unmarked door in Fort Bragg's compound, the selection assessment and course, OTC's internal gauntlet, begins measuring you in ways you won't understand for years. The smell here is industrial cleaner over old sweat. It never leaves this building. You run land navigation alone, no team, no debrief. You're handed a DA form 5960 with partial grid coordinates and told to validate your own route. When you ask a cadre member how long you have, he walks away. That's the first lesson. The question itself was the failure. You figure out the time by watching when others return. Don't ask for the standard. Find it yourself or you don't belong here. 90% wash out here. Not because they lack fitness, because they want to be told what excellence looks like. You start to understand that this place doesn't teach, it reveals. Level 2, Operator, New. You've passed, there's no ceremony. A binder appears on your rack. Inside, your detachment assignment, a comm card, and a single index card that reads. Read the room before you read the brief. You're running SSE, sensitive site exploitation, on training targets. You're handling Seek-2 biometric devices, cataloging pocket litter by category code, building pattern of life files. The work is procedural, precise. You're generating intelligence without knowing its destination. Cold air in this SCIF. It never varies. Climate controlled to 64 degrees year-round to protect the hardware. You make one mistake on a target folder, wrong JPass designation on a secondary subject. Your team leader doesn't correct you. He hands it back without speaking. You redo it, that's the job. Errors don't get explained, they get returned. If you need the reason, you're still thinking like a civilian. You start to realize the mission isn't the operation. The mission is the pattern of your behavior over time. Level 3. Operator. Experienced. This is where it changes. You're cross-attached to a classified interagency task force. The acronym doesn't appear in your service record. The funding runs through a 1208 authority line, non-DoD sourced, no standard appropriations trail. You're briefed by someone in civilian clothes who never gives a name, cordite and hydraulic fluid. Every airframe smells the same after midnight. You're running HVI targeting packages now. You're contributing to JPEL nominations. The Joint Prioritized Effects List. You know what it means when a name moves from Category 2 to Category 1. You've stopped flinching at that transition. The men who hesitate at Category 1 don't get called for Category 1 again. Your reaction time has replaced your reflection time. You don't notice this yet, but the people around you do. Level 4. Team Leader. You own the plan now. 12 men. Their lives run through your judgment. You're writing fragos from commander's intent, translating strategic objectives into 6-line targets, managing ISR deconfliction windows across 3 time zones simultaneously. At this level, accountability becomes a currency. You spend it carefully. The pressure is constant, but pressure becomes ambient. Like tinnitus, you stop hearing it consciously, but it never stops. A team leader who surfaces his doubt to his men has already failed them. Someone asks you how you're doing at a family event. You say fine and mean nothing by it. Not because you're hiding something, because the question no longer computes the way it used to. Level 5. Squadron Troop Warrant. You're writing post-operational assessments that feed con-plan revisions at the combatant command level. Your analysis shapes future targeting criteria. You're upstream of the decision now, not downstream of it. Jet fuel at altitude, thin and sharp. You know which airframe by the smell alone. You manage internal SAIDA reporting, subversion and espionage indicators within your unit. You've reported 2 men. One was exfiltrated from the program. You don't know where he went. You don't ask. Loyalty at this level is directional, not personal. It runs up the chain, not across it. You start to realize your social world has contracted to a radius of about 40 feet. The people who operate inside the same classification tier as you. Everyone else is simply Exterior.Level 6, Squadron Sergeant Major. This is where the system starts managing itself through you. You're sitting on internal review boards. You're evaluating operators who remind you of who you were at the beginning. You score them on the same rubric that scored you, with one difference. You've stopped believing the rubric is about combat performance. It's about behavioural predictability. The room always smells like old coffee and recycled air. Every decision room does. You've approved resource reallocation that defunded a subunit's training cycle to cover a black budget shortfall in a joint task account. Men didn't train because of a number you moved. You filed the variance reports correctly. That's what happened. Institutional continuity outranks individual excellence. Always. Level 7. Command Sergeant Major. At this level, you are the institutional memory. You interface directly with SOCOM J3 and JSOC staff. You're present for verbal authorities that never enter written record. You know which operations existed only as phone calls. You know which names were removed from databases rather than redacted. The most consequential decisions produce the least paperwork. You feel very little when you receive bad news now. Not suppressed feeling, actual absence. You've mistaken efficiency for health, for long enough that the distinction no longer interests you. Level 8. Squadron Commander. You control budget lines, personnel designations, and interagency MOUs that never surface in congressional oversight. You've testified before closed session committees and answered every question accurately by controlling which questions got asked. This is where it changes again, and not in the direction most men expect. You're not more powerful, you're more exposed. Every decision at this level creates a record somewhere, in someone's file, in someone's memory. You start auditing relationships the way you used to audit target packages. At this level, loyalty is a liability unless it's also leverage. Level 9. Group Commander. The ecosystem manages itself. You manage the ecosystem. You're coordinating authorities across 3 combatant commands, 2 intelligence agencies, and 1 entity that doesn't appear in the Federal Register. You've stopped asking about the entity. It answers to something above your current access tier, and your access tier is already near the ceiling. The air up here is the same everywhere. Climate controlled, recycled, neutral. You remember having opinions, strong ones, about justice, about necessity, about the difference between an authorized action and a sanctioned one. You can still articulate those distinctions. You simply no longer feel them as friction. The system does not require your belief, only your function. Level 10. Commanding General. It's 0347. You're watching a feed from a UAV over a building you won't name in a country you won't identify. Somewhere in the compound below, a man who doesn't know this moment is coming is 40 seconds from the end of a pattern of life assessment you authorized 8 days ago. You feel nothing remarkable. The decision was made correctly. The process was sound. The outcome will be documented through the appropriate channels. Then the feed cuts to an intake bay at Fort Bragg. A new candidate, young, standing outside Building 7 in the dark, holding nothing, already trying to decode the silence around him. You watch him the way you'd watch weather. He doesn't know the door only opens one way. You do, and you walked through it anyway. So will he. That's how the system stays alive.